Patterned oral language. A brief introduction. Oral language is a child's first, most important, and most frequently used structured medium of communication. It is the primary means through which each individual child will be enabled to structure, to evaluate, to describe, and to control his or her experience. At its most basic level, oral language is about communicating with other people. It involves the process of utilizing thinking, knowledge, and skills in order to speak and listen effectively. As such, it is central to the lives of all people. The development of oral language is given an importance as great as that of reading and writing at every level in curriculum. It has an equal weighing with them in the integrated language process. Pattern oral language is based on principle number 3, to increase comprehensible input and language output. Increased comprehensible input and language output means that English language learners learn both through the language they encounter, which is the input, and the language they produce, which is the output. Input should be at a level that is challenging but still understandable, and students should also be given multiple opportunities to produce language. There are 5 components of effective oral language instruction. Promote auditory memory, develop listening and speaking skills, teach a variety of spoken text, create a language learning environment, teach and extend vocabulary and conceptual knowledge. Develop listening and speaking skills. In order to teach listening skills, teachers will need to model how to be good listeners. They should show the children footage of what good listening looks like and schedule quiet listening opportunities as part of the school day. Provide spaces in the classroom that encourage conversation and attentive listening, and create organic learning charts to show what good listening is. In order to teach effective speaking skills, teachers will need to model effective speaking in a formal and informal manner. Provide opportunities for students to engage in the conversational style speaking. Give students tasks that involve observing and recording effective speaking. Use role-playing to teach and reinforce good conversation skills. Carry out activities where the whole class can read aloud. And create organic charts to capture the mannerisms associated with effective speaking, such as non-verbal behaviors like hand gestures or facial expressions. Teach a variety of spoken text. Different texts that are used in the classroom can be oral reports, conversations, storytelling, question and answering, partner work and small group work, arguments, and formal and informal debates, and giving instructions or procedures. It is important when addressing these different types of language to also consider the range of different social contexts of language, such as formal or informal, familiar or unfamiliar, the range of cultural contexts for language, local, community, and institutional, and the possible participants in a conversation and their relationship, the people who are known and unknown, students, peers, and adults. Create a language learning environment. A language learning environment can be created by focusing on 3 key elements: the physical environment, the classroom culture, and opportunities for communication. By enriching the physical environment, multiple opportunities for engaging in oral interaction and development will exist. By enriching the physical environment of the classroom, we create multiple opportunities for engaging oral interaction and development. Communication happens all the time in the classroom. By taking advantage of certain communication properties, students can be exposed to multiple oral language contexts and uses. Teach and extend vocabulary and conceptual knowledge. When teaching vocabulary, you need to plan to teach individual words, such as synonyms, antonyms, root words, and suffixes. Direct word meaning teaching is an effective way to facilitate children's vocabulary development. Teaching word learning strategies such as words in context, definitions, and word maps can also be beneficial. Fostering an awareness and love of words and language such as multiple meanings, word games, and words of the week typically works well with students. And providing a variety of experience for using words through reading, writing, and oral language. Promote auditory memory. Auditory memory involves the ability to assimilate information presented orally, to process that information, store it, and recall what has been heard. Essentially, it involves the task of attending, listening, processing, storing, and recalling. We can do that in several different ways. One of them is to repeat and use information, memorize and sequence songs, retell and recite poems, stories, tales, fairy tales, myths, etc. Retell stories using puppets or by illustrating a map. Recall verbal messages or phone numbers. Play memory games is a great idea as well. Always use visual cues and mnemonics, and provide organizational tools to assist memory, such as graphic or visual organizers. And it's important to remind students to be conscious of remembering important concepts, skills, and metacognitive strategies, such as the think aloud. There are some sticky issues and cautions. Excessive oral direction on all concepts takes way too much time. All students may not be at the same level. If students are paired with someone too advanced or too below grade level, their learning may suffer. Students may not feel ready to participate or be willing to participate. Pattern oral language levels of proficiency. Typically, oral language falls within levels 1, 2, and 3, although it is not limited to just 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 is the beginning, is very limited with no understanding or very limited understanding of English. They really rarely use English for communication, can respond non-verbally to commands. The student may feel lost in the classroom. They may lack sufficient vocabulary and oral comprehension, and they're not able to work at grade level, even if placed at their grade level. Level 2 is low intermediate. The student can understand short conversations on simple topics, can rely on familiarity, can use repetition, gestures, and nonverbal cues to sustain conversation, can understand basic narrative text and authentic materials. They can rely on contextual and visual cues to aid in comprehension. They may have frequent errors in their work and in their speech, and vocabulary is still greatly limited to commonly used words. As they progress to level 3, it's intermediate. The student can understand speech delivered in most settings with some repetition and rewording. They can understand the main idea and some details of extended discourse. They can communicate orally in most settings, but they still may not be on grade level. They may still require support in understanding academic text. They typically participate in most classroom activities and follow directions adequately. And their vocabulary is limited, but it is rapidly improving. So the connection to critical pedagogy is based off of banking education versus problem-posing education. So the objective is to empower the students and help them to help themselves. The students can be critically conscious about thinking, reading, writing, and speaking while going beneath the surface meaning. This includes little to no memorization of facts and definitions. It helps them make meaning clearer through visuals, demonstrations, and other means, and gives students multiple opportunities to produce language. And the students should also be given plenty of opportunities to produce language, and they should receive direct feedback to increase comprehension and improve their language skills. This can be done with partners, or in small groups, or with the teacher as a one-on-one. So in order to demonstrate the strategy, I've listed one example, such as a follow the pattern, which is a structured talk. And this activity can be used to practice verbs or adjectives, plurals, or other grammatical forms. So the students would come into small groups, and each student would have a pattern. For example, if a student has 3 sentences that include an adjective before a noun, this first student would say, I have a black cat. I live in a small house. I like sweet foods. Then have each student in the group practice the pattern by creating 3 original sentences on their own. Then change the pattern. For example, students say in a sentence in the past tense, and then a sentence in the future tense. So yesterday I walked to school. Tomorrow I am going to ride to school. And then you would continue with the additional partners in the class using additional patterns. As an extension, have a student in the group create a pattern and have other group members try to figure it out by saying what the pattern is and following it. For example, the student creating the pattern may say, I have a pen, you have 2 pens. I have a book, you have 2 books. I have a watch, you have 2 watches. So then the student figures out the pattern and continues, I have a sister, you have 2 sisters. Here is an example of an authentic classroom example. So in this video, the teacher is grouping the students together so that they can talk and exchange ideas about science. And she's demonstrating the repetition by having the student describe and then another student repeating in their own words what the first student said. So I hope you learned a little bit about oral proficiency, and thank you. Have a good day.